Thank you, Mr Speaker. I move that the House record its deep regret at the death on the 22nd of January 2025 of the Honourable John Moore AO, a former minister and member of this House for the Division of Ryan from 1975 to 2001, and place on record its appreciation of his meritorious public service and tender its sympathy to his family in their bereavement. Mr Speaker, it was John Moore's fate to be Defence Minister during what was a deeply significant turning point in our region and Australia's biggest military deployment in a generation. As our troops went into Timor-Leste, John brought to his portfolio a stability born of his great breadth of experience. Born in Rockhampton and raised on a cattle station west of Bowen, John did his schooling by correspondence, doing his bit to defeat the tyranny of distance in the process. And then, as a young man, he set up his own stockbroking firm, growing it into the largest single trading business in Queensland. He added Member of Parliament to his CV in 1975 when he was elected member for Ryan, eventually making it into the Outer Ministry as Malcolm Fraser's Business and Consumer Affairs Minister. As Minister for Industry, Science and Tourism in the Howard government, John played a significant part in the development of motor vehicle manufacturing policies. However, his most enduring legacy was his time as Minister for Defence. When Australia led the UN forces into Timor-Leste, John oversaw Australia's largest military deployment since the Vietnam War. He also drove the development of the 2000 Defence White Paper, a blueprint for the future security of Australia and a significant step for our Defence Force's transformation into the modern ADF we have today. It was not a career without setbacks, but he never lost the support of his electorate. John was re-elected 9 times, serving the people of Ryan for more than 25 years. He retired from politics in 2001 and was appointed an Officer of the Order of Australia in 2004. John was farewelled in a state funeral in Brisbane on Tuesday, which Senator Anita Green attended to pay the government's respects. Today, as we honour John's memory in this place, we express our gratitude to an Australian who worked to make a positive difference for his country, and we extend our deepest condolences to his loved ones. May John Moore rest in peace.
Call to the Honourable the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I thank the Deputy Prime Minister for his very kind words, and I join him in honouring the life of John Moore AO. John's life was quite an odyssey, as the Deputy Prime Minister pointed out, one that took him from solitude in the Queensland outback to the frenzied floor of the Brisbane Stock Exchange to the hustle and bustle of federal politics in Canberra. John was born in 1936 in Rockhampton and raised on a cattle station west of Bowen, completing university qualifications in commerce, accountancy and securities. John worked with a brokerage company before establishing his own firm in 1964. He did see enormous success on the Brisbane Stock Exchange, and his firm would become the largest single trader business in Queensland. And in 1964, John became a member of the Liberal Party. After the dismissal of the Whitlam government, John joined the ranks of Malcolm Fraser's new government in 1975. He'd won the seat of Ryan with 66% of the two-party preferred vote, which he would recontest 9 times and ultimately hold for 25 years. In 1980, Prime Minister Fraser made John his Minister for Business and Consumer Affairs. John standardised different state company codes under a federal act, and he made deregulation inroads into the securities industry. Responsible for overseeing the Customs Act, John became entangled in the colour TV set affair. The item had been imported by fellow Minister Michael McKellar, who didn't pay the necessary customs duty tax. Whilst there was no deliberate misconduct, just innocent mistakes, both men resigned their ministries. With the coming of the Hawke and Keating governments, John's talents were rightly recognised by 3 of 4 opposition leaders, and he held different shadow portfolios, typically economic-focused, under Andrew Peacock, John Howard and Alexander Downer. John Moore backed Andrew Peacock in the leadership spill, which saw John Howard toppled in 1989. and John Moore later apologised for the fallout which befell the Liberal Party because of his and Wilson Tuckey's regrettable tell-all appearance on ABC's Four Corners. But after John Howard's Lazarus Rising moment, bitterness between the two Johns was set aside for the good of the party and our country. Prime Minister Howard initially made John his Minister for Industry, Science and Tourism. John helped drive investment into and the modernisation of our car and pharmaceutical industries. And in 1998, John became the Minister for Defence. He presided over the Australian-led UN peacekeeping mission in East Timor that ensured the country's independence, and he commenced the upgrade of the Collins-class submarine fleet. He created Defence's first Chief Financial Officer position. He put in place new accountability around acquisition. He released a new Defence White Paper in 2000, and recognising a reservist desire to roll up the sleeves and serve alongside regulars, John amended legislation to enable them to be called up for full-time service. For the first time since Federation, reservists could be called upon for combat and peacekeeping duties abroad and for humanitarian and disaster relief operations. John's reforms to Defence, along with his wider parliamentary service, saw him appointed as an Officer of the Order of Australia in 2004. John called time on politics in 2001. And over the next 2 decades, he imparted his business wisdom to a new generation. He chaired Australia's Wine Statutory Authority and he travelled with his beloved family. On behalf of the Coalition, I offer my heartfelt condolences to the Moore family, who farewelled John at a state funeral in Brisbane on Tuesday. May he rest in peace.
As a mark of respect to the member of the Honourable John Moore, I ask all present to rise in their places. I thank the House.